Hello, 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 and welcome to the Blue Oval Podcast. I am Ben Weissel, and joining me, as always, Garrett Zatlin. How's it going, man?
Ben, this is usually the part where I have like a funny, cool intro to say. I've got nothing
I
to
got something
say
for
for
you.
this.
I
Okay.
am upset with a lot of these scratches and decision
Oh,
making based off of my fantasy team that we picked a couple of weeks ago. I gotta say, don't love some of these, specifically in the women, and we'll get into it. But yeah, didn't love what I saw here. Was feeling really good about my teams until I saw the events that everyone was starting to select.
wait. So now I'm so curious because I looked at this and I was like, nice, exactly how I thought this was going to go. That's all I thought. I will say the Diana Cherotich pick for you has now become increasingly less valuable, which
The
stinks, especially
Juliette
since
Whittaker one, which we'll talk about,
that one.
not great. I do the Pamela Kosgei one looks really good in
I agree.
in
It does.
hindsight. I think that does look really good. But yeah, we'll get into all of that. But before we do, we did get one new rating on Spotify. We're at 196, almost to 200 there. That's exciting. Apple continues to just churn along at 0 a week. So if you listen to us on Apple, maybe that no one does, but I absolutely sure
They
there's
do.
more than 110 people that do. Go ahead, leave us a rating review. Just scroll down to the bottom, leave a rating, leave a review. Well, if you have a question, throw it in there. We'll almost certainly get to it over the next couple of weeks. So if you want to be able to get your question or information onto the podcast, that's like the surest way of doing it.
That is true. That is true. We will answer from any of the reviews. So go check that out. Ben, let's not waste any time. Let's just jump right into it. We've already kind of hinted at it. NCAA regional championships are this week, if possible. I'm going to see if Wyatt can maybe do us a little bit of a favor and kind of get this out early. If not, I don't know yet. Haven't talked to him yet. But regardless, this will be coming out just as the regional meet is starting on Wednesday. And the regional meet entries and the scratches, more importantly, were just released about 5 or 6 days ago. We've written two in-depth articles on the site. We now have all of our national qualifying predictions now on the site for each of the distance events in each region, men and women. It's top 12 individuals advance from each individual event to the national meet. But there's a lot of implications that have come with these scratches, with these entries. And it's your and I's job to break it all down today and discuss what this means in the grand scheme of the rest of the postseason. So I'll let you kick it off. Where do you want to start?
Absolutely. We got to start. I hinted at it at the intro, and that is Juliette Whittaker scratching from the postseason, citing mental health recovery. We had seen that she didn't seem to be quite herself this entire really 2025 year. And so this doesn't come out of complete left field, but it is surprising nonetheless that she didn't compete at ACCs and then again decides not to compete at regionals. She was always that superstar that was lurking in the shadows in the 800, right? Where it's like, all right, we think we have all our favorites. And then you have the Olympian and multi-time NCAA champ out here who hasn't put it all together. But if she does, she could be highly competitive. Now that wild card is no longer there. And yeah, it's hopefully this is something that she benefits from. And if this is what she thought was best for her, then I think this is the absolute right decision. She's got a long, very full career ahead of her. This seems like a big deal now, but when you look back at her career, this is going to seem like a small little blip in the radar, hopefully. So I think this is the right decision if that helps her focus on next year and kind of get back on track where she was during a very, very full 2024 year.
Yeah, and I can't blame her, but I'm also like at the same time crazy impressed. I'm like, man, she had dealt with so many challenges as she mentioned in a very open and
Yeah.
kind of brave Instagram post, and I go, you still ran too flat like a
Yeah.
month and a half ago. That's insane. So for her to kind of be going through some of those challenges and then still running as well as she did, and me in the back of my mind being like, well, maybe this is obviously before we learned all this. Maybe she could still win the national title.
Yeah.
For us to still be having that conversation, well, knowing all the obstacles that she was just kind of going through, I'm like, pretty impressive. pretty impressive. But yeah, wishing her the best. Does really stink. Secondary, only secondary to that is your fantasy team, of course.
Yes.
Very, very devastating. But wishing her the best.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I certainly don't want to make light of any of this. I want to make sure that I think
No,
you
I
did
don't
a
think
good
you
job
would.
covering that. But I want to say, obviously, whatever she needs to do to get mentally right, that's the most important thing, right? And
No, of
whatever she's
course.
been going through, it's very difficult, especially in a sport where you have to be so locked in. So I commend her for having the courage to step away when she feels like she needs to.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone's like, well, that was just the wrong decision, Juliette. Like, I don't think anyone's saying that. But let's go to a little bit more of like a more implications based um, kind of discussion point, and it
Mhm.
centers around the three best distance women in the country right now. Maybe just depending on how you feel about Michaela Rose, but that's Alabama's Doris Lemngole and BYU's Lexy Halladay-Lowry. They have both scratched the 5K, and they are going each all in for the steeplechase. However, Pamela Kosgei of New Mexico has scratched the steeplechase and will now do the 10K, 5K double. Kosgei was now the clear favorite in the 10K. She continues to be the clear favorite. And now there is no one left in that 5K who we think is an immediate threat. Maybe she could
Right.
still, sure. But now she's the clear favorite, I think, there in the 5K as well. I already have a few thoughts about this, but just your initial reaction to seeing those three women and what they chose to do and how their decisions play a role in each other's title chances.
Yeah, I don't think there was a ton of surprise from Kosgei's perspective. I thought this was exactly what what she should do, and everything else worked out perfectly around her. Right? I think we both assumed that Lemon would try to double back in the 5K. I'm not entirely sure why she isn't. Now I know that's regionals becomes a little bit more involved, but I still just I'm surprised to see her not in the 5K. For Halladay-Lowry, a little bit of that same surprise, just to go all in for the steeple, where it's just such a like you're going up against Lemngole. Like it's such a heavy favorite to go up against. Whereas the 5K, if she runs that fresh, you could make a convincing argument that she's the favorite there. So I always thought that Halladay-Lowry might still go to the steeple because that just seems to be her event, and maybe she wants to prepare herself for USA championships, right? Where she'd be expected to run the steeplechase there, and that's going to be an all-out battle for those spots too. That's a very loaded steeplechase women's field as well. But ultimately, if you're looking at what would have been most beneficial for her points wise, it would have been the 5K and scratching everything else. But at the end of the day, it's hard to say this is the wrong decision for Lemengole or Halladay-Lowry based off of this is their best event. And if they want to run their best event and only focus in on that, who am I to say that's the wrong decision?
I came into this podcast prepared to be like, I don't get it if you're Halladay-Lowry. Why are you not running the 5K? Why? Because I know that it takes a few steps in the thought process
Yeah.
to think, well, how do we figure out what the best event is? But let's be very clear. Doris Lemngole and Pamela Kosgei are the very two clear-cut national title threats to
Hmm.
Lexy Halladay-Lowry. And if Lexy Halladay-Lowry's goal is to win a national title, something that she has not yet done, then the 5K is the best option for her. Because if you think about it, well, Pamela Kosgei was almost certainly going to run one of the steeple or the 10K before doubling back to the
Hmm.
5K, one or the other. So you knew that Kosgei was going to be running that 5K on tired legs, right? Doris Lemngole, same thing. You know for a fact that after running 9-10 this season, you know Doris Lemngole is going to run the steeplechase. She's the defending champion, broke her own NCAA record by convincing margins. Very clear she's going to do that. And if she doubles back to the 5K, then hey, she's racing on tired legs. But guess what? Now she's not even racing the 5K. So now it's just Kosgei. So I understand that if you're Lexy Halladay-Lowry and the steeplechase is your best event, hey, you want to try that. But the 5K was very clearly the best option for NCAA gold. And I got a little frustrated. I'm like, hey, listen, I know I'm not very accomplished on the track, but I'm at least smart enough to look at the schedule and be like, what am I missing? And it wasn't until today that I realized, oh, Ben, what's the world standard for the women's steeplechase?
Is it 9:10?
It's 9:18 flat.
Oh, 9:18 flat. Oh, wow. Okay, I was way off. That
And
makes a lot more sense.
Halladay-Lowry is at
Yeah.
9:18:05.
Yeah.
And so if she wants to go into USA's not having to worry about the standard, she's probably going to be in the race with the 9:10 steeplechaser. I listen, whether it's ideal or not, but like I get it. Now, do I wish I'm like, okay, then just go like try it one more time during the
Yeah,
season?
and I don't know if that fully lines up where because you're almost certainly going to have to run 9:18.5 or faster to make that team. Like I'd be surprised if you could
Yeah.
run slower and make that team.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to play that game though? Do you
Right, yeah, I hear you. It's not an ideal place to be, but that it holds some water to me, but not it doesn't it's not like if that's the only reason, I don't love that as the only reason.
Yeah, I was at least able to come to peace with the decision.
Good.
Like that's my thing. I'm at least at peace with it now. Whereas I'm just like, I like Doji Taylor is one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the
Yeah.
country right now. Like, what am I missing? What am I missing? And for like 5 days, I'm just sitting here. I'm like, this makes no sense. The 5K was very clearly the best option. And now I'm looking at this like, I still don't like it. I still don't
Yeah.
want this to be the case because I want her selfishly as an NCAA website and podcast. I want her to win a title. But I also get it now from the world standard perspective.
Yeah, she's one of those athletes that based off of her resume deserves a title at some point, and it's this is the most difficult way that she's going to have to do it now.
Well, this is it. I think this is
right. That's what I'm saying. Like this is like, but out of her entire career, this is going to be one of the more. This would be one of the more difficult ones to win, is beating Doris Lemngole in her main event in the steeplechase. Right.
I don't think it gets harder than this.
No, that's exactly. So I commend her for just wanting to do her own event and like backing herself. But I'm with you. I tend to disagree in terms of I would rather take the NCAA title. Now let's move on and let's go talk about another puzzling decision, but on the men's side, and that is Fouad Messaoudi scratching out of the 1500 and going to the 5K. Now, I know you find this super puzzling. I think I'm in the very small minority of people that I think I kind of saw this coming, and
you're so
kind of okay with it.
Get out of here! No, you didn't.
What did I say? What did I say when he ran? What did I say when he ran? The 334 or the 337? I think I said I'm not as excited about this for the 15. Or maybe I even said that during the indoor season, but I always saw him as more of a threat.
You said it a couple
more of a threat in the longer distances than the lower
I'm
distances.
fine, and I like don't necessarily like agree or disagree with that. I'm saying, however, that you didn't expect him to go for the 5K.
Oh, not going into this week. Yeah,
no, yeah, and that's like I get it. The men's 1500 is stacked. It's stacked. And I get it. Like the 5K, a lot of those guys are going to be doubling back. I mean, on tired legs. You want to talk about a kick that could be more conducive. I don't know if I agree or disagree with that, but sure. Maybe the Saudis is better in a tactical affair. But I have a handful of problems with this Ben, he has finished two 5K races in his college career. Now, beyond that, not sure. But two in his college career. 2 5K races. His PR sits at 13:28. Could he probably run faster? Probably. Do we know that for sure? No, we don't. And we're also assuming that the 5K at the national meet is going to be tactical. I would bet you money it's not going to be tactical. I would bet you money it's going to be aggressively paced. You're going to tell me that between Evans Karui, Hampton Samuel, Ishmael Kipkiri, Parker Wolfe, that those guys aren't going to make it honest? Valentin
I don't think Parker Wolfe will.
Maybe not Parker Wolfe, fine. but maybe Robin Kiwabera, right? Like there are guys in this field who are gonna make it aggressive.
Well, define honest and aggressive. Does that mean a 13:10 race to you? What does that
Yeah,
mean?
I think that means 13:10, maybe give or take a couple seconds.
Okay.
And as we saw during the indoor national meet, it took what, 13:18, 13:20 to be an All-American. I don't agree with it. He's run 3:37 or faster 4 separate times this spring. I get that you want to get in the event that's best for point scoring or whatever, best chances. At some point, I just think pick the event that you're best at to a certain degree, especially when I don't think the difference is all that great in the 5K.
The only thing that I'll push back on is you ran through a lot of his track accomplishments. Now, this is also a guy that has been very successful in the 10K in cross country. So this is not this is not a 1,500-meter guy that's bumping up to a longer distance than he's capable of. Right now, I know he hasn't run anything faster than 13:28. But I mean, you look at his resume and it's like, all right, 5K should be a pretty perfect event for him based off of what he's done in cross country, what he's done in the 1,500. I would almost, I would be stunned if he doesn't run faster than 13:20 during this process, right? I think he has 13:10 in him. Like I no, we haven't seen it, and so it's you're taking a bit of a leap of faith here, and there's a lot more projection here than there would be in the 15. Where the 15, all right, I know he's going to set himself up. He's going to be in the final. How he does in the final, that's a little bit of a more of a question mark. And so the 1,500 meter isn't a certainty by any means, which I think is also important to note. The 5K though probably has an extra question mark to it that the 15 doesn't have. There's more upside to it. In my mind, I think there's a greater chance that he wins the 5K than the 15, but I also think there's a greater chance that he just isn't an All-American in the 5K.
That's my concern, right? Like I think put it this way: the chances of winning a title in either event for him are very slim. Both slim enough to the point where I don't think it really matters which one he chooses. To the point where I just don't think that, like, could he win? Sure. And like, do I think he's like a national title winning guy? Yes, we saw him win the 3K a couple years back. Like, we know he's capable of winning national titles, but in this year's fields, based on how the 15 and 5K are set up, I don't think he's necessarily favored to win gold. At that point, it's a matter of where are you in the All-American conversation? What are your best chances to score, and where in that? And I just I think there's more certainty in that 1,500 that you're going to be an All-American, maybe a sixth place All-American, but an All-American nonetheless. Because we talk about all these other guys in the 5K, like Rocky Hansen's fresh, Parker Wolfe is fresh, Marco Langon's fresh, Matt Strangio is fresh. I can keep going down the list, and then there's all these guys doubling back from the 10K. So listen, like, Dave Smith is more than accomplished enough for some podcaster behind a mic to be like, I disagree with this. So I get it. Like, who the hell am I, right? I just didn't quite see the vision.
And hey, this is why we have the podcast, for you to say your opinion, whether or not it lines up with a coach's or an athlete's opinion. That doesn't matter. But let's go and talk about the other guy who's going to be fresh in the 5K, and that is Parker Wolfe. Yep. I think the interesting thing with Parker Wolfe, and what makes the Messaoudi decision maybe a little bit more puzzling, is like you have another guy here who, and we'll talk about Marco Langon as well, has run just as fast, if not faster, in the 1,500 as Messaoudi. So if you're expecting to be able to have the best wheels and the best 1,500 meter speed in this, that's no guarantee. And I think that's what makes Wolfe so dangerous in this, is he combines the long distance acumen, the aerobic centric approach, but also has those fast 1,500 meters. He has those fast finishes. Like, we've seen him win NCAA title before like that. And I think you come into this race, and I'm leaning towards him being the favorite, honestly, in the 5K. Because I'm not really scared of him versus Haftam Samuel. I think I'll pick him fresh and in a 5K. I think I'd waver if they were both fresh and I knew it was going to be like a 12:59 rate kind of race,
Right.
then I would probably go Samuel. But I don't expect it to be under 13. Like it's going to be a 13:05 to 13:15 kind of race to win. It would be my bet. And in that scenario, I lean Wolfe over anybody else in this field. So I think this was a great move for him, just to go 5K only.
So you were originally in our last podcast. I asked you, "Hey man, what's Wolfe gonna do? What should he do?" And you're like, "I'm leaning towards the 10K, 5K." But now that he's just in the 5K, are you like, "Hey, you know, I've reevaluated this."
Seeing the rest of the fields and the way that this played out, I think this was the right decision based off of what there's just looking at the fields. I think he becomes the favorite.
Are you surprised at how many people went for the 5K by comparison? Because let me go through this real quick. Messaoudi drops 5K or drops 15 for 5K. Ryan Schaube drops 15 for 5K. Parker Wolfe drops 10K and 15 for 5K. Strand and Martin to attempt the 1500 5K double. Langon and Strangio both scratch the 15 to pursue the 5K. And then Liking, Lawrence, and Kiwanbera all scratch from the 10K. Liking and Kiwanbera will run the 5K. Lawrence is not qualified in anything else. Are you surprised at how many guys actually went for the 5K?
Yeah. Normally we see a couple guys do this, but it's rare that we don't see athletes try to make it to nationals in as many events as possible, right? And it's also rare that, with that said, usually we're talking about 5K, 10K. We don't normally see guys try to do the 15 5K double all that often, and we have three, and we'll talk about those guys. And that's an interesting discussion when we're talking about, hey, this becomes a much more difficult regional meet for you just to make it. And some of these guys, you're not super worried about that. But yeah, it's just going to be a loaded 5K field in these regional championships. Just to get to the national meet is going to be quite difficult. You look at the pedigree of a lot of these men on both the east and west side, and it's very strong across the board.
Yeah, it's very strong. Now at the same time, like if you had told me beforehand, like, hey, every guy who I just mentioned, with the exception of Messaoudi, is going to drop their event for the 5K, or they're going to do the 5K in some capacity, I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. But the number of guys who are going to be fresh for it is interesting. I thought there was potential that Strangio goes 15 5K double. And I just think the 5K is now becoming a bit more stacked than maybe we initially expected it to be. Like, did you think both Strand and Martin were going to go 15 5K double?
But I think that's kind of my point, is it looks on paper, it's going to look stacked. But I think Strand and Martin taking up an extra spots in the 5K is actually more beneficial for Wolfe and for a lot of these other guys, because I think it actually weakens the field to an extent.
From like a title purpose or
Yes,
purpose.
yes, yeah.
I mean, how many title contenders were there going to be in the 5K who aren't already there?
Well, yeah, I think it just makes the field less deep, I think, is what I'm kind of saying. Is like you have more than two probably guys that are going to be coming back from the 1500 meters that are going to be racing in the 5K. And I mean, far be it from me to say, hey, they're just not going to be able to be competitive. They might be able to be competitive, but I just don't think it's as strong as if you would have had other guys in there completely fresh, ready to roll.
They're not going to threaten Wolfe.
Right, exactly.
And I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to threaten Wolfe, especially not on the double.
No.
Which I do agree with there. Simeon Birnbaum, redshirt freshman, 15 5K. What thoughts? What did
I don't mind it, except for it just makes that regional meet really difficult for him. Like, he's going to have to grind that out. That's going to be I mean, he was not a shoo-in for either of these events. You would expect him to get out of the 15, but it's not like, hey, he's an absolute lock. And now he's just going to be grinding like for the entire week. And that's a tough situation to put a young runner who hasn't run a lot of 5Ks in his career in college to go through. Right. And then let's say, hey, best case scenario, he makes it through, and both same kind of story that he's going to have to go through the national meet, which is going to be exceptionally difficult. So I didn't love it. I understand trying to get the experience, trying to score the points. I know Oregon's trying to score as many points as humanly possible, but developmentally, this doesn't seem like the right move for him at this point in his career.
It seems like a lot. I agree. I think he's a little young. Let's not forget he was dead last in the
Yeah.
mile prelims, like at the indoor national meet. And I like Birnbaum. Like I think he's going to be one of the most feared distance runner by the time he's a
Mm-hmm.
senior. If he even chooses to stay, like I could see him going pro after his junior year. Like
Right.
I realistically think there's an avenue where he becomes that good. I
Mm-hmm.
think he's a stud. I just think it's like let's just take one thing at a time, right?
Right.
Like, and I maybe who knows? Maybe he gets in the 5K, runs a couple laps, and he's like, "Oh no, I feel I have a cramp," and then he hops off, right? Like he can do
Which
that.
again, I don't like that either. Like
I don't like that, but he can do it, right?
I
And
know.
like I know there's like the honest effort. I don't even know if they still have the honest effort rule.
There's really no
There's no
reason to have it
way.
at this point. Like
Yeah, at that point,
how do they? There's no measurable way of determining that.
no. And that's like so at that regardless, all I'm saying, do I agree with it? No, but like at the same time, like am I just like an old guy yelling at clouds? Like just because like well the youngin shouldn't be doing this. Like I mean I guess. Like I don't know. So I'm a little conflicted with myself there. Um who finishes higher? Let's assume all three guys get to the 5K finals at the NCAA Outdoor Championships. Who finishes higher, Strand, Martin, or Birnbaum?
I think we'll go Martin based off of his cross
Right.
country season. I think
Right.
this fits his MO a little bit more than the other two guys.
Let's move off of that. Diana Cherotich, who you picked in the
Yes.
draft, another tough one. She scratches out of the 5K, goes all in for the 10K. Thoughts?
Didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
No, didn't.
She could have jogged the 10K and 5K at regionals, qualify. The 10K comes first at nationals. Having an extra 5K tempo effort from regionals wasn't going to impact her national championship chances. In the 10K, at least, I don't understand it. It just, in a situation again where you would think Oregon's trying to score as many points as they can, this seems like a pretty easy like layup for them, and I have no idea why they didn't have her double the 5K, 10K.
Yeah, like let's not like I get that she only quote unquote ran 15:23 for the 5K this season. And I know she didn't do great in her sixth place finish at the Big Ten Championships, right? Where she fell off a little bit after running 32 flat in the 10K to win the 10K title at the Big Ten Championships. But like she's run 15:01 from her time in Kenya.
She's also run 32 flat in the 10K.
She's run 31:45
right.
in the 10K this season or something.
That's what I'm saying. Like she can run 15:30 without breaking a sweat. Really, like it's not that far off from her 10K pace.
Yeah, like I mean, even I don't know I don't know. Maybe she just doesn't do well in the double. But like, if you're Oregon, and like, let's not get lost in all this. Wilma Nielsen's not the only one who's out of the who's out for the season. Juliette Cherotich not listed in any of the regional result entries. That's an All-American in the 10K that you're like, probably not there. And if you're Oregon and you're trying to score points, which I'm sure they almost certainly are, I don't know why you don't do the 5K. That doesn't make sense to me. She's run 15:01.
It feels like an athlete's decision more than a coaching staff decision because this does not fit what the coaching staff normally does.
I don't
want to put that on her, but it's just
I don't know if an Oregon freshman has that say. I'm also like
I would push back on that. I absolutely think athletes have a say.
I'm sure they have a say, but like in high school, right? My coach is like, so what do you want to run at the district championships? I was like the 3200. She's like, yeah, that's what you were gonna run, and like you didn't have a choice in this, but I just wanted to see what you said, and I was like, oh, okay, thank you for the illusion of choice. I appreciate it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't. I also don't really care whose decision it was. I just don't think it was the right one.
Yeah. No, it's fair. Totally fair. Let's move back to the men, and we briefly mentioned this, but Marco Langon and Matt Strangio all in the 5K. Marco Langon, I feel like has just been like the forgotten guy this year, where he's run super fast in pretty much everything that he's done, but because Liam Murphy is out there, like he just doesn't get quite the credit that he deserves. I think he enters the 5K as one of the more dangerous guys in the country as well. If we're talking about Parker Wolfe being in my mind, the favorite, you look at what Langon's done this year, and how would you not put him right up there with Wolfe in a lot of ways? Like I think maybe you're a little bit more worried about, hey, can he actually run that 13:05 to hang with a really, really fast pace? But if it's a 13:15 race, I really like his odds. He put in a hard charge at the indoor national meet, and it came up short. I'm sure he's learned from that. I think he's going to pick his spots a little bit better, but he has a great kick. He's as fit as anybody in this field when it comes to running 2K, 3K. If he can just put himself in the position where he's not wearing himself out too much early on in the race, I think he's going to be right up there with that final pack when it comes down to the last 400, 800 meters.
I don't disagree. I just think it feels like we're trying to move around a lot of different puzzle pieces for that to happen. And it's like,
but I mean, honestly, I think the only puzzle piece is like, as long as it's not super fast, like he's going to be right there.
But I guess I'm just under the impression that like you're probably running 13:10 to win this title.
That's not, to me, that's not. I mean, that's fast, but that's not super fast.
I know, but he's still at a disadvantage against Wolfe and against Samuel. Listen, do I think he could win a title? Like, yeah, but the scenario would have to be like very
right. I'm not necessarily saying he's winning the title. I'm saying he's going to be like right there making moves.
So what's his ceiling as an All-American?
Well, I would say 2.
Okay.
I think he could finish as high as the second.
Okay. I would have said 3, but sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't see too many scenarios where he's getting second. Like, I guess, sure. Like, anything could happen, sure. But, like, I just, whatever.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I think if you're looking at someone that is a top 5 lock, I think he's as close to as good as anyone that we talked about.
I'd give you that. Sure. I'd give you that. Strangio scratched the 15 for the 5K. Did you like it?
Yeah, I always thought this was what he was going to do. I just want him to see him put it together at like the national meet. That's so if he feels the most confident in the 5K, this is one of those decisions where it's like whatever decision he made, I would have thought it was the right one for him because that tells me he is the most confidence in that event, right? And he's been running so well this spring that whatever he's most confident in, just go ahead and do that. And I think that's going to be his best bet of being an All-American.
This is one of those instances where I was like, I think you got to do the 15. He was 10th in the indoor 3K this past winter. He was 16th last in the indoor 3K in the winter of 2024. And he was 22nd in the outdoor 5K in the spring of 2023. The longer distances don't really bode well for him. Seemingly, like he's run 3:37 this season. Then he's run 3:36.95. He won his heat at Brian Clay. He's he was second in a very strong, like sneaky good field at the Portland Twilight. Like, and yes, I know he won his the 5K at the Stanford Invite, which is a marquee win, but that was back in early April, and it was a mark of 13:24. It's not that I necessarily think he's a better chance to be an All-American in the 15 than I do think he is in the 5K, but maybe just switch it up. Maybe try the 15.
Yeah, and that's I think it's funny because we have the same exact hesitations of like you just haven't run one at nationals, and my thing is all right, just do whatever you're most comfortable with then. And for you, like all right, just don't do whatever you've been doing. Like at least do. This is the definition of insanity. You're hitting your head against the wall over and over again, expecting a different result. I do think though that he's fitter than he's ever been. And again, that's why it goes to whatever he feels whenever he steps on the line, whatever he thinks he's most capable in. That's the right decision in my
mind. I mean, I'm super happy that he got an All-American honor in cross. Like,
yes,
I'm thrilled about that because he deserves an All-American honor. He should also probably have at least one more All-American honor by the time he ends
on the track. Yep.
And one of them should be on the track. And I don't know. So I'm rooting for him. Like the dude's been having an incredible year, Obviously, the very tragic passing of his father at the indoor national meet, and now he's putting together a really underrated, very good season. I am rooting for him. I hope he comes out with an All-American honor. But what's next?
Let's go with another interesting decision on the men's side, and that was Harvey Cramb in the 1500. And I thought this was a similar situation as what I was mentioning with Strangio. Whatever he felt most confident in. Now, the steeplechase may be a little bit more open, but he's been running so well in the 1500. Clearly, he's confident in that. He's gone toe-to-toe with some of the best in the country and come out on top. Just beat Colin Solomon in the 1500 meter at conference championships. You're riding that momentum. You like your chances in the 15. I know it's loaded, but if he likes what he's doing right now in that, I'm all for it. I think in these situations when you're talking about a guy that's more of like an All-American threat rather than a title threat, I like just going with what you're most confident in. And that's going to, because I don't want it to sound contradictory of what we've been talking about, like at the top, right? Where we're talking like, hey, the Fouad Messaoudi, the Lexy Halladay-Lowry, where it's like, all right, you're a true title threat. Just go in whatever event you can actually win that title in. In these kind of situations, I'm more about, hey, what do you feel comfortable with? Because if you try to, when you're talking about just trying to get a top 8 spot and you're tinkering and you're trying to look at fields and all of that, it can get real messy real quick and you can start making way too many assumptions. Just go with what you think you're best in and what you feel most confident in. And I think that's what he did here with the 1500 meters.
We had 5 people, 5 contributors. You were not one of them, but 5 contributors make their regional predictions for who they think is advancing to the national championships. In the West men's 1500 meters, how many people do you think said Colin Solomon will advance?
Oh, man. I was thinking about this because I was like, man, we have not talked about Colin Solomon that much this year. 2?
2. Who were they?
All right, let me look at the names, like our names here.
Here, I'll tell you the names. You can't be looking at the
I know I can look at. I can't scroll through. I can't scroll
Garrett,
these.
Rachel, Finn, Mike, and Finley. Finn Burney and Finley McIsaac.
Yeah, we gotta
we'd have
clarify which Finn.
Yeah.
Finn and Mike.
Finn and which Finn?
Oh, Finn Burney.
Finn Burney. No, it was Finley McIsaac and Garrett Zatlin.
Okay. There you go.
I was brave.
You still believe?
No, but I was like, I just find it like it just, I don't know. I was just like this is one that's easy to overthink. I think where it's just like, he hasn't been running super well. He's still been running well enough. Where I think Harvey Cramb has been running way better than people realize. Like he won his heat at Brian Clayer in 3:37, took down Colin Solomon, ran 3:40 earlier in the season. And I think he won his section or won his heat at the Peyton Jordan Invite. Like the dude's a winner. Mm-hmm. And the steeple is more wide open, but I just think he's just been comparatively way better in the 15 compared to the steeple, that it didn't matter if the 15 was just more stacked than the steeple. It still made more sense because he's on such a hot streak there. But yeah, no, I have Solomon and him going.
It's interesting looking at these predictions and seeing who was like the consensus guys. It's interesting that Simeon Birnbaum was one of that everyone predicted. That is a little surprising.
Sure. Really? Would you have picked him?
I think so, but it's one of those guys where everybody picking him makes him feel like a lock, and I don't know if I have him.
More surprised by him or Ruben Reina?
Yeah, the Ruben. Did everybody pick Ruben Reina? Yeah, they did. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that one surprises me more. Yeah, that one's weird.
What's more surprising, that Ruben Reina and Simeon Birnbaum all had unanimous they will advance, or that Davis Helmerich only had 1 vote? Davis Helmerich being the SEC 1500 meter champion from Arkansas.
I think the unanimity, because it's I'm surprised that you don't go with the guy that comes in with a lot of momentum, and the SEC, like those conference championships, emulate very closely to how these regional championships usually go. So like if you're good at that kind of style race, you're probably going to set yourself up well for making it to nationals.
I'm just looking now. Okay, cool. There's one name where I won't give too much away, but listen, we have over 1,200 picks for 5 different riders. There's there's 2 genders, 5 different events each, right? There's 12 picks per rider. There's 5 riders. The numbers add up to 1,200. So there's 1,200 different picks made to see who is advancing. Go check them out on this site. We have a tab on the menu. It's predictions and then D1 regional predictions. Go check that out. I want to chat real quick about the Hutchins Millard Stearns decision here. So Jenna Hutchins of BYU, Alex Millard of Providence, and Elise Stearns of NAU. They all scratched the 10K in favor of the 5K. Did you like this move for all the women, some of the women, none of the women?
I didn't love it for Stearns. I didn't mind it for the other two. For Hutchins.
Why did you not like it for Stearns?
I just think Stearns is better in like the longer distances. Based off of her cross country profile, I think, and her aerobic fitness, I think is just better than these other two, and better than most people in the country. Quite honest, and the 10K is fairly wide open. Like that would have been the one that I would have focused on if I was her, rather than the 5K.
I initially didn't like this decision for really any of them. Maybe I was okay with it a bit more for Millard, but then like as I kind of sat on this a little bit more, I was like, I don't hate this. Like I don't think that they are like considerably better in the 5K than they are at their top end of the 10K. Like I don't think we've fully seen their full potential in their 10K. Maybe Hutchins a little bit, but like I think they're roughly equal about in both events. Like I remember Stearns I think was what, like 5th at the indoor national meet, 4th.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So
no, she had a great indoor 5K year, but that always seemed like she was dropping down in distance in my mind and having a good season there.
But like at least there's success proven, and that was a loaded field. Like that was what Kosgei, Halladay-Lowry, and Lemngole, right? So
yeah.
Ultimately, I've come to the decision: hey, what's the best event to get you All-American honors? And if we think that their 2 events are equal between the 10K, 5K, or at least relatively equal, then go after the event in which Grace Hartman is doubling back, in which Chloe Scrimger is doubling back, in which Peyton Noe, Margot Appleton, Pamela Kosgei are doubling back. Doris Lemngole not running it. Lexy Halladay-Lowry is not running it. Diana Cherotich is not running it. So I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Yeah, maybe not as much as I initially thought I would.
Yeah, you put together a compelling point. I don't mind it for Hutchins and Millard. I thought those are very reasonable decisions. They've both been pretty good in the 5K. This feel like the 5K feels more like their events, right? And I think that's the only consternation I have with Stearns is the 10K always just felt like her best event. But I think the 10K, while I've always felt like the 10K feels pretty wide open, there is a lot. There's just everyone's going to be fresh, right? It's a guarantee that everyone's going to be fresh, and that by itself maybe lends it to being a little bit more difficult than the 5K.
Yeah. I see the vision. I see what you're saying. So, all right. Real quick, some quick headliners before we run off here. Oklahoma State's Dennis Kipnigetich, as well as Alabama's Dismissal Kira and Victor Kiprop, they're all scratching out of the 5K. They're going all in for the 10K. Meanwhile, James Lawrence of Loyola, Bob Liking, Wisconsin, and Robin Kiwabera of Iowa State, they're all scratching from the 10K for the 5K, although James Lawrence wasn't qualified in anything else. His season's over, essentially. Any surprises, thoughts, like anything there?
Yeah, the Liking one was a little strange. Again, someone that seems like the 10K is his type of event. Everyone else, not. I don't think this is a hugely surprising.
I thought Kim Wabera was still just as surprising. I'm like, what? He's run 32? He's run 13:28, which is like good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not like, hey, he's a sub 28 guy in the 10K.
Right.
Drop the 10K. Nah, that doesn't really make sense to me. And I know Liking did not run well into the 10K at the Big Ten championships, but like that was, I think, a fluke. Like, he came back and was second in the 5K. It wasn't too far off the win. Like, I don't know. I didn't totally understand it.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like you don't trust your fitness fully decision. Like, hey, like you feel like aerobically I have enough for the 5K, but not for the 10K. But yeah, that
I don't know. He's a
it
sub 28 guy. Like, I don't know if I'm a sub 28 guy being like, I don't trust my fitness. Like,
right,
you know?
yeah. But that's like the only thing that I can come up with. I mean, maybe he just doesn't feel great with where he's at for whatever reason. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's won multiple cross country championships in the Big Ten over 10K. It seems like this is his bread and butter. So that I feel like there has to be something. Yeah, and the Quimai Bear, I hear you. I feel like we don't really know what his best event is yet on the track. And
I think it's the 10K. I think it's going to very clearly be the 10K, and I actually feel pretty confident saying that. My quick takeaway that I want to mention before we go. While I do disagree with the Messaoudi, and less so the Shoppy, but the Messaoudi decision to move off of the 15 in favor of the 5K, the event staggering between names does make sense because
yeah,
this allows Laban Kipkemboy of Oklahoma State and Alex Stitt of Oklahoma State. It gives them better chances of advancing out of the regional meet than it did if Shoppy and or Messaoudi were in there, right? Now
yep,
those guys get to move up, and now Dennis Kipnagedich gets to just focus solely on the 10K. So
yep.
I will say, from a point scoring / advancing guys to the national meet, that did make sense. And so I will give credit to Dave Smith there, where I think that's an underrated aspect of like opening up events for your other guys.
Yes, I agree with that. Although with the caveat that moving guys around for that as the main purpose
I don't
can
think that was
go
the main purpose. I
right,
don't.
or even like if that's factoring in your decision too much, that can go very poorly very quickly, right? Whereas you're putting people in maybe not the best event for them, and things can fall apart in tremendously spectacular fashion.
I will say there's two other guys, Aiden Granados and Kyan Davis, who, if you look at there's what, 3 heats of the men's West 1500 meter regional, and I'm looking at this, and I think they're in the most favorable heat. Yeah, I would say that they're in the most favorable heat, so it kind of works out for them too.
Yeah. I think you're probably right.
Just throwing
But
them out there.
yeah, you don't make your hay in the first round in the 1500, though.
No, but for some of these guys, if you just get out of prelims, like,
Yeah.
no. Certainly, listen, they're no Ben Weissels, okay? But not everyone can make the finals.
The first round wasn't bad. It was the second round that crushed my soul.
Yeah, you were also against what, Yard and the Goose? No?
I don't think he was in my heat. I think I was in Kip Sang's, or no,
Oh, that's
not
right.
Kip, yeah, Iliad's, and yeah,
Wait,
that was a crazy regional race. Super
I
fast.
have to, so I'm looking you up right now on Tifers. I really want to know what that final was. Who was in your heat? Yeah. Oh,
It was brutal. I was so upset.
You had Kip Sang and the Goose, and Jack Salisbury, Ryan Adams, Brandon Tubby, John
Was
Petrucci.
Mario Garcia Romo in that one too, or was he in the
He
first
was in
one?
the first heat with Walid
Okay.
Suleiman.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you
I was
faced
so mad. I was so mad when the heat sheets came out. I was
dude,
like, this is so brutal being the
you
second
got
heat.
just rocked.
And I
Not
wanted to be in the first one too, because I was like, if the first one's usually the more tactical one, right? And I was like, that always is going to line up better for me. The second one's usually
it
fast,
did.
so you get more qualifiers, and that's not exactly how it played out. But I was like, yeah, that it just did not work out well for me. Granted, I ran
Yeah.
terribly, but
Yeah, but like also, I mean, like, you were a speed guy, and these guys were doing a strength based race, 335, 336, 337, which back then, by the way,
yes,
is like, oh my god, kind of thing. So you just got crazy unlucky. Yeah, that stinks for you. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah. I think I remember I was talking the year after, and it was like the regional to make it to nationals out of the East was like 342, 343, 341. I'm like, Well, just
Yeah,
missed my
there,
window
there were
there.
some guys in that. I remember there were some guys in that race that advanced. I was like, it's gonna be a quick prelim for you, my man.
All right,
all
enough
right.
talking about me. We could go down memory lane far too
No, I
long.
wasn't talking
I'm
about you. I was
old
talking
and
about the
washed
year.
up.
I was talking about the year after you.
I know. But this is how we got to this conversation. Is talking about me. So I'm excited for regionals. Regionals, I think, is always one of the more fun events to just go at, and like for a lot of these athletes, they get you're with the best of the best in the NCAA, right? And the stakes are high, and it's a good group to be around. So it'll be a lot of fun to watch this week.
Agreed. A lot of fun. Go check out. By the time you're listening to this, a D2 and D3 group chat reaction articles will be out on the site, unless this comes a day early. Not sure yet. We don't really know when this is coming out. We're going to have high school running lane reaction article. We've got regional predictions, national qualifying predictions up. We've got the scratch reactions. If you want to read more in depth about this, that's also on the site. We're going to first thoughts article throughout the week. There's going to be snapshots, albums from D2 and D3 nationals also on the site. It's all coming, and it's only about to get way more fun. So that's all I got. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, until next week, Garrett, I'll talk to you.
I'll talk to you.